Hello, here we are again with Mookie Tenembaum. We are, as many of you already know, exploring through this series of videos his disillusionist philosophy, especially focusing on the misalgic theory at the core of this philosophy, which is the theory that explains human behavior through aversion to suffering. And year after year, month after month, we've been at it for a while now. We've been trying to illustrate these theories, these concepts, which might seem rather abstract, with everyday matters, with facts from current affairs, from daily life. We spent a lot of time analyzing the COVID-19 pandemic back in the day. We paid some attention to the news, for instance, when Russia invaded Ukraine. And today we are going to focus on an aspect of everyday life which has to do with mandates, which has to do with things we are forced or expected to do, not behavior that we've covered, I guess, well enough, discussing religion and state, how the law imposes upon us different types of behavior. Today, we're going to talk about the obligation, the imposition of feelings, the mandate to feel certain things under certain circumstances, which is a specific part of the disillusionist analysis.
Well, it is really the obligation to feel an emotion, and not just any emotions. We will talk about it, but certain emotions, adequate emotions, that fit the moment. Now we can begin with the elephant in the room. I don't think there is a room in the elephant, but it's important.
You're not in a room.
I'm not in a room, and there are no elephants here. So pantries, no elephants. So the question to this issue is matrimony. Matrimony is expected in our Western world to be out of love. You're not supposed to marry somebody for money. That's a no-no. For the attraction, the physical attraction, not really very well seen. For the fact that her father or his father is a politician or a banker. There are many reasons, or simply because you think you have an aligned interest and you can do something together and like a partner. Now, look, if you decided to be a partner in a pizzeria and your partner is the guy who makes the pizza, yes, you can picture him. You're not supposed to love him. Certainly not to be in love with him. So what I'm trying to say is partnership is not equal to love. In fact, it was never equal to love until 200 years ago, about 200 years ago. It went from romance, from the literature into, first the upper classes and then the lower classes. And at the end, of course, everybody wanted to marry for love, and I'll be looking for love, and the love will come. And of course, there are 1 trillion songs about it, and 1 billion movies, and of course, memes and whatever. And then you are supposed to do it. And if you don't do it, that's not the adequate feeling to get married. Now, to get divorced, you don't need to hate. That's not the other.
Not compulsory.
It's not compulsory, although many people really do that. What I'm trying to say is that in other cultures, this doesn't exist. But we will talk now about those obligations that we have to feel. Then we'll talk about the ones we don't have. What do you think, Florencio?
I was listening to you, and it's a great example. It's, I would say, more than just an obligation. It's just a supposition. People who get married are supposed to feel love and to keep feeling love, and they make a commitment to keep feeling love and to love each other over time. But as you say, I was thinking, in the times of Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet was the absolute exception. It was something they would put on stage at the theater. Just people wanted to go against the family will, against the stipulated laws of societies because they felt love. And as you said, they were aristocrats, not just common people, and they end up killed. that never ends in proper marriage. So this is something that has our geography. It's a Western thing, and it's very recent, as you say. But I was thinking, maybe in general, what happens when there is no feeling? What happens when there is no love behind a marriage, as we expect it to be? Or in general, what happens when the feelings that we expect, the emotions that we expect in a certain situation are just not there?
We're disappointed, probably. So remember, yes, there is, we're talking about three different phases: what you feel, what you say, and what you do. Those are the three stages of emotions. Yes. So now emotions emerge. Emotions are not something you decide. You cannot decide to love, you cannot decide to hate. Yes, and today there is the fantasy that if you hate somebody, it's because you're not really applying yourself, and you should be not hating, and you should understand why not to hate, like it was a reason. There is reasoning behind it, and that's not true. Yes, it is true that many times what you feel is related to the facts you know, and then when the facts change, you may change your feelings. And again, you don't change feelings; you are being changed. You are not the subject of a feeling. You are the object. Okay, you are being filled. That would be. I don't think there is the right construction, language construction to explain this. But I think I made it clear. Now think about it. On the other hand, you have people who are unable to feel. There's two kinds of them. One is something we spoke about it, were the psychopaths. We have a video which is called, excellent video, I love it. That makes it very good. It's good
that you have feelings for our own videos.
I have, exactly. That's what I was saying. I was expressing my feelings to a certain videos. Other videos I don't like, but this one I love. So no, seriously, that it's called How Psychopaths Think is very useful to understand how they think. Psychopaths are very special because they have three things that they lack. It's not what they have, but what they don't have. They cannot feel empathy. They cannot feel sentiments at all. And empathy is one of them, but it's like the one that's expected to feel. And then they don't have moral conscience. Now, this is one group. So the guy cannot feel. So he doesn't feel love. He doesn't. So all the adequations he has to do, all the things he has to do to stay in society is to feign it. He has to feign it. He has to say, I love you. Now, normally the problem psychopaths have is that they have to be actors without the benefit of having experienced in the past. In general, a good actor will draw from his or her experience during their lives, and then they will apply to that moment. So it's really from memory. He has no memory of that. The only thing he has is people talking about something, and he just, thinking that they're all crazy. What are they feeling? Nobody feels anything. So he overacts it, and that's the way probably you can find the psychopath, pick him out of the crowd. Then there is the other thing, this is really the elephant in the room, and that's ChatGPT, that's AI. Now AI, if you ever chatted with that thing, then it writes to you. Let's say you say it's wrong, or I did not understand. He will go, I apologize. I'm sorry. He will say, oh, I'm glad. And again, we're talking about a screwdriver. Okay, this is just a screwdriver. It's a machine. It's a tool. There is nothing else. It cannot feel anything. It doesn't suffer. Thus, it doesn't care if something happened or it doesn't. He doesn't have missalgia. He cannot run away from suffering. He doesn't die. He doesn't know what it means to die. There is no way that machine can feel anything. It's just impossible. Now, we still feel better if it apologizes. And I asked the machine, I made a question, say, why you are still writing like you had the feelings? He says, well, people need that. He said that. People need that in the conversation. It's better for them. It's easier. I need to transmit my information. I need them to be receptive to it. So here we have two things that do not feel anything, that express feelings they don't have, and we are patsies. We believe them. Why? Because it's easy, because it's good. What do you think, Florencia, about this?
I think in these two examples, imagine the married psychopath that claims to love his wife, but we know he cannot feel love, and the large language model that tells me every night, I am glad I can be of assistance when I know it can be glad. But in this case, as you said, neither of them has a moral consciousness. So a moral conscience, so they don't feel guilty because they are lying. They don't feel guilty because they are pretending to love or to be glad when they are not. The problem with the rest of us, and I think it's very interesting, is this would be a short circuit between expressing a feeling you don't have, because as you say, you don't control which feelings come whenever they want. Expressing a feeling you don't have would bring with it another feeling, which is guilt, which is the pranks of moral conscience, because you are lying, because you are pretending. So it's a very different situation from the one in AI or psychopath.
Well, as I said, those two things emerge. You don't decide to feel guilty, and say you don't decide to feel. Let's begin. Not even you don't even decide to feel cold. Forget about feeling feelings. Even the regular feelings, it's not up to you. You are, as I say, you are the object, not the subject. Okay, this comes to you. So when your feelings they collide with your moral conscience, you have a problem. Let me give you an example. Somebody doesn't love his mother or her mother. They don't like it. They don't love it. The moral conscience says, what? You are supposed to do that. What do you mean? I'm not talking about other people. You don't tell that to anybody. No, of course not to your mother. You don't tell it to anybody. Even if you don't tell it to anybody, you will have the moral conscience gnawing at you, like this in your head, saying, what do you mean? So now you will have to deal with the tools you have. The moral conscience knows that you don't love, because it's yourself. There is really no two or three people here. It's only you. It's being competing feelings happening to you. Now, you know, I have mixed feelings. This is not mixed. This is competing feelings. It's not the same. Mixed feeling is now I feel like this, now then I feel like that. No. So what do? Well, you treat your mother as you would love her. You tell your mother you love her. You tell your brothers and your sister that you love her, and that's it. And you get rid of the whole thing and let it go by itself, and that's it. So this is what you do to compatibilize those feelings. They are compatible now. Yes.
Well, I guess we come to the point where we usually ask why, from a misalgic point of view. Why do we are obliged to feel certain things, and especially why do we impose this upon others? Why do we require feelings and the expression of these proper feelings from those around us? What's behind this?
Well, behind this is our fear or our aversion of uncertainty. We try to avert suffering. Uncertainty is a very deep well with a lot of suffering waiting for you. Why? Because first of all, you don't know, and then you have already the fear of the uncertainty. You don't need even to feel it. Then the second problem you have with uncertainty is that you have to be awake to deal with it. You can't deal with uncertainty while you're sleepwalking. Now, that means you're going to suffer. We know for a fact that when you sleepwalk, you do not suffer. So what do you need to sleepwalk? You need things that calm you down, like going to sleep. You need things. You cannot have going to sleep in the middle of of a concert, and people banging, and maybe your children talking. It's impossible to fall asleep that way. So the same thing goes for sleepwalking. Knowing that somebody loves you allows you to feel certainty about that person and about everything you do with them. So now you can sleepwalk, both of you, in a sync, yes, because each other knows that they are loved. Now, the question of the adequacy of sentiment, it's very important. It's not enough to know that they love you in general, that they have adequate feelings. So you can either express them, the ones you feel, or express the one you don't feel. As much as you need it, you see, it lubricates relationship. So if it's frictionless, nothing wakes you up.
It's thoughtless, and that is apt for sleepwalking. We're almost out of time already. It's a fascinating issue. I want to take you back to part of what you said at the beginning, which had to do with romantic marriage being very specific to our culture, to our times, and ask you about specificity, cultural specificity. It seems to me most of these expected feelings and most of these expected displays of feelings are tied to certain cultures. What you expect here is not what you would expect in East Asia, and it changes over time. So there's no universal common denominator here, right?
Well, first of all, among a lot of the cultures, marriage are marriage of convenience. And when I mean of convenience, it means that they are prearranged. You don't go around looking for women to marry. Don't forget that in many of these cultures, you cannot have sex. So your decision is going to be very narrow. You have not even tried the body of somebody else in this case. So it doesn't matter. Everything is made. And then you have the explanation that comes into the Orthodox Jew, use it very often. Well, once you get married and you live together and have children, then love will come by itself. But they say it to you because they think you have an obsession with it, and I agree with them. We do have an obsession with it. It's also a very good distraction. Talk about love. Love me. He loves me. He doesn't love me. Have love. Do you love me? The whole conversation, which is quite a minefield in a marriage. Yes, I mean, love. How do you test love in marriage? What you want is we go back to the pizzeria. You want a partner for life, or not for life, or for many hours, and that's it. You want him to sell pizza, and you make money, and you want them to do whatever the division of labor you do with the other person, and make children instead of money.
No pizza, no money, children.
Children, but listen, it's important to understand that these people have the necessity of having something predictable. It's at the heart of all this. Okay, so now, but again, not every feeling is okay. When we say the obligation of feeling, not of feeling adequate feeling, you're not supposed to feel envy. And here I want to be clear: negative feelings are those feelings that you can either on an individual basis, the ones that cause you suffering, yes,
okay,
grief, for example, or the one that could cause suffering to others, envy, hate. Even there is even a law. The law even says that differentiates between just criminal behavior and criminal behavior that it is the cause of a bad feeling. Racist. It's called hate crime. When did we punish people for what they cannot control? Of course, they can control their deeds, but you don't want somebody, hitting somebody else with a metal rod, and you don't care if it's because of hate, it's because of love. You want to defend the other person from that. That was the whole idea. Now it's not enough.
I just like to double click on those diverging scales you mentioned back then, because I think it's quite fascinating. Grief is a very good example. from my point of view, from my perspective, grief is a negative feeling. It's a form of sadness, is suffering for me, but it's expected from me. If somebody close dies, for instance, during the burial, I'm supposed to be aggrieved, and I might even feel guilty if I'm not, and certainly others would consider me out of place if I don't display grief feelings. So
well, you would be an insensitive guy. That's a big accusation. You're insensitive. In fact, insensitive start going in the way to psychopath. You don't feel this. Even if you're feeling, it's a feeling, but it's not adequate. Even if you feel, I don't know, glee instead of grief. Even if it's not adequate in the lives of the people who listen. But you see, I remind you what I told you. These are three different stages. What happens in your mind, in your the feelings you have, nobody has access to them. Nobody. Well, I don't know. Then you can talk about it, and then you can talk about the feelings you have, the feeling you should have, the feeling people are expecting you to have, or you just go about saying things that are supposed to happen. You're supposed to say, you don't even remember saying them after a long time. You go to a funeral, you say, I'm sorry, or whatever you say, I don't know.
Sorry for your loss.
I'm always out of words there. Yes, sorry for your loss, and in the case of envy, sorry for your gain. No,
but it's right. You don't need to actually feel sorry. You need to display it properly. And as you said, you need to act that way. You cannot say you are sorry and laugh.
Yes,
the same.
Yes, that's exactly. There is a question of adequacy. I think the whole thing has to do with adequacy. Now, again, I told you before, I think it's a lubrication. I think that permits us to live and to sleepwalk. It's part of the sleepwalk tacit agreement. I don't wake you up, you don't wake me up. Okay, so we go about it and express what we feel or what we don't or we should feel. That's it. Sometimes we don't even ask ourselves what we feel, because if we ask ourselves, we wake up. So we have the already, prepackaged answers that express feeling, adequate feelings.
Amazing. Interesting subject. Parts of it are still pending for discussion, but we have time. We'll do other videos in the future. I think this covers more of the matter.
I don't think we'll run out of issues to talk about in our videos. Never did it in today. I hope that the next we will still have it. But yes, it's I think it's an issue that is fascinating. I keep thinking about it all the time.
See you next time. Thank you very much.
See you next time. Bye.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.